quite often when we see people and tell them we're in Toastmasters, they will ask us, well, you know, what do you do at Toastmasters? And we tell them, well, you know, you try to explain and give what you deem a reasonable response. And they say, oh, you got to do public speaking. I could never do that. And they think that's all Toastmasters is about. Of course, we here know it's much more than just speaking. That's a very important part, but much more. They'll ask questions about, like, well, how many clubs are there? And, you know, when did Toastmasters get started, or how did it get started? So I think it would be nice for us to not only aspire to be great communicators and have great leadership skills, but as well to aspire to have some knowledge about Toastmasters. So when people ask that, we can then answer the questions. So hopefully I'll help tonight by giving you the history of Toastmasters in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'll start with just a little bit of background information on how Toastmasters got started. Well, Toastmasters got started back October the 22nd, 1924, by Dr. Ralph Smedley. And he started it with a group of men, and they were in the basement of a YMCA in California. Toastmasters is what we would consider, or what's considered, a world leader in communication and leadership development. And that's a pretty big statement to make. They've got 13,000 clubs worldwide. They've got 270,000 members in 116 countries. Pretty amazing, isn't it? And especially for you guests here tonight. Toastmasters is, of course, a nonprofit organization, and the focus is, like I said, to develop effective communication and leadership skills. Now, you may ask, why join a club like Toastmasters? Well, membership in Toastmasters is one of the greatest investments that you can make for yourself. And at a cost of different clubs or different prices, but approximately $40 every 6 months, it's one of the most cost-effective skill-building tools available anywhere. And I challenge you to go out and find something different. The history of Toastmasters in Newfoundland and Labrador, and Jason, you'd appreciate this. You can share it with your colleagues now. The first clubs were established by the U.S. military in Argentia and Goose Bay. A club was started at Pepperell Air Force Base prior to that being phased out. And as far back as 1960, clubs existed at the Argentia Naval Station, at the Ernest Harmon Air Force Base, and at the U.S. military base in Goose Bay. Terra Nova Toastmasters, believe it or not, was the very first civilian club formed and became a chartered club back in 1960. And they lasted until sometime in the early 70s. The Terra Nova Toastmaster Club, as you know it today, got reinstated in '79, and of course they're still in operation. And we do have 6 active Toastmaster clubs in our province today. The oldest being the Grand Falls Windsor Toastmaster Club, and that became a charter club back September the 1st, 1966. The other active clubs today are, like I said, Terra Nova, Cabot Toastmasters, Bay of Island Toastmasters, Memorial Toastmasters, our club, and Capital Toastmasters. Past Toastmaster clubs include, this one in particular is unique, and I'll tell you why, Cabot Confederates Toastmasters. And they became a charter club back in '87. And they were unique in that they were a closed club. And they just operated and were open to the Newfoundland provincial government employees. They met weekly, lunchtimes of course, 1 p.m. at the Confederation Building every Tuesday. And they published a magazine or newsletter called the Matthew Express. Past Toastmaster clubs that unfortunately did not stay in operation include the Iron City Club in Labrador, Westgate Toastmasters, and at the time they closed, they were the second oldest club in our province. Apollo Portunus Club, Conception Bay South, North Atlantic in Clarenville, Schooner down in Marystown, and X-Wave, of course, here in St. John's. And the dates are listed there as to when they became a charter club. And you'll notice the very first one listed, Iron City, They made 3 attempts in the late 60s, early 70s, in 1981 and 1990 to be a chartered club. We do have some chartered members. In 93, Terra Nova had 2, a father and son team, Pat Dunn and son Pat Dunn. The father passed away in January of 93, so Pat Dunn Jr. was the only remaining active charter member. Click happy here. Terra Nova Toastmasters sponsored Cabot Toastmasters, Conception Bay South, which has since closed, and us, Memorial Toastmasters, along with a co-sponsor, Cabot Toastmasters. We have some DTMs here in Newfoundland, which you met one last week, but Patrick Dunn was the first one that I'm aware of back in '94. Joel Sweeney followed shortly after, received his DTM, and he was our guest speaker here last week. Ken Lawrence, and I don't have the dates for these guys, David Morrissey, and as far as I know, Paul White completed his in 2010. Conferences with Toastmasters were very popular, and the very first one was held in Gander in 1983. Others were held, of course, across the province, Corner Brook, Port aux Basques, Grand Falls, and they were held yearly pretty much up until 2001, with the exception of 94, 97, 2000, 2001. And these were canceled due to poor attendance. Since 2001, I don't have the history, but I think there's only been a couple. And I think that was back in '07, and we just had one this past year. Memorial did sponsor one back in '98, and I was in attendance at that one. So, that's the slide I should have had on. Toastmasters, I'll leave you with this quote about Toastmasters. Now, I got this on the Grand Falls Windsor Toastmaster Club. Toastmasters will give you the skills and confidence you need to effectively express yourself in any situation. Whether you are a professional, a student, a stay-at-home parent, or a retiree, Toastmasters is the most efficient, enjoyable, and affordable way of gaining great communication skills. By learning to effectively formulate and express your ideas, you open an entirely new world of possibilities. And we have members here that have proven that and lived by that. Allie being just one, Lee another one, lots of us. So, to conclude, I challenge you to go out there and find any other program that will as effectively develop your leadership and communication skills. Thank you very much. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask, and I'll do my best to answer. I'm not saying that I can answer, and especially for the guests, feel free to ask anything, because I know that was a lot of information coming at you.
How do you get all this information, history?
Okay, and I wanted to tell you that, and I didn't have time to fit it in. I did research, of course. I went on Toastmasters. Toastmasters has an international website, so I did some research there. I contacted members like Joel Sweeney. I was in contact with Gary McDonald in Grand Falls to get some information. Joel Sweeney has some on his site, and he's a great resource. So, and some things that I knew. So through Toastmaster members mainly, and the international website.
To me, I would make some suggestions, since you have a very organized history of Toastmaster in Newfoundland and Labrador, is that probably we can, type up or make a little booklet or a handout book, and to keep that for the future, and then continue on. Add on the page and page and page, and that would be very interesting.
Yes, well, I had this put in. I was going to copy and give it to members in case some people like to have that. And I thank you for your suggestion. The only thing I didn't want to do was I didn't have all the dates, because some people, of course, like Gary McDonald in Grand Falls, didn't respond. So, I mean, he could be traveling this time of year. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't want to give it out without the proper information. You'll see that some of them had little question marks, because I'm not sure when the clubs closed, or when somebody got a DTM. So yes, once I had accurate information, we could gladly share it. We could put it on our website, or people can have a copy, and I have no problem sharing it with you people now, you know, if you'd like to have a copy. Is just be aware that the is not 100% complete, you know, what I've got here. Lee.
For the members, for our new members and guests, can you just explain what a DTM is and what's required for it?
Okay. Lee, I'm still trying to learn what's required. I know you have to go through your competent communicator, which is your first 10 speeches, your very first manual, and these speeches are organized and they tell you that like you're working on gestures or you're working on vocal variety. There's set things that you work on in these first 10. Then when you move to the next level, you do advanced communicator, and you do a bronze level, a silver level, and a gold level. And through each of these levels, you again do two manuals, 5 speeches in each. So you do a total of 10 speeches, plus you do other things like the successful club series presentations and things like that. And I know at this level, I'm at the gold level, I have to do a presentation that could be on something like effective listening, so kind of more like a seminar type thing. And then to get your DTM, Lee, I'm still not 100% sure what I would have to do or what one has to do. I know back some time ago you would have to form like maybe a Toastmaster club. And I know Paul White of Capital Toastmasters, he formed that, and that went towards his DTM. What Joel Sweeney and these people, older members, former members I should say, had to do, they've now changed the requirements. So it's something new now, so I'm not there yet, so I haven't looked there, but I'm aspiring to be a DTM someday. Okay, thank you very much.